Okay, welcome back everyone. Hope you enjoyed your break. Our next speaker is Tom Foe. Tom Foe is a Senior Vice President of WATG. His topic is the distortion of time and place, which is another way to look at the architecture of inconvenience. Tom is going to be talking about how the element of discovery, the twists and turns that you don't see coming, is key to planning properties that evoke a sense of wonderment. So please welcome Tom Foe.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay. All right. I hope everyone had a good break. But I'm going to be talking a little bit today about resort hotels. And in each case, in the examples I'm going to show today, most of our clients have wanted something more than just guest rooms. They wanted something that was a unique and memorable experience. And you'll see that it's not only just architecture, it's a lot of things that I heard this morning. It's about storytelling, it's about integrating technology, it's about integrating rides and attractions to make a resort experience that's, again, something that is hopefully memorable and a unique experience. Okay. Not moving forward. Oh, there you go. Okay. So, most of the projects we do all have a very similar, even though they're different locations, they all have a very similar design goals for us. We always want to establish a very strong storyline. Most of the projects we do, all the decisions are made based on a strong storyline. We want to transport people to another place in time, or take them away from their average everyday life, make them feel like they're really someplace very unique and different than their hometown, and create unanticipated diversions. And we do that by creating different types of spaces, different types of surprises, spaces that lead you to other spaces or make you want to go to other spaces. And then, again, the element of surprise is something that could be in the form of a space, it could be in the form of attraction, and what we try to do is sprinkle them around the resort so that you come across them unexpectedly. And again, like I was saying, most of our clients want a memorable experience that's one of a kind. So, anyway, here's a few of those examples. This is Project in Dalian, China, for those of you who've been there. It's a kind of a resort city on the coast of China. And here, the client really wanted something that was a symbol of the city. Dalian is actually known as sort of the romance city of China. And so they really wanted to create something that was unique to the city. I have to point it this way. There you go. So again, it was a big project on the top of this hill, and we wanted to create something that would evoke a sense of a different time and a different place. Maybe need another click. Okay. And again, the architecture is just one part of it. Here we wanted to make sure that as you went from inside to outside, that even the landscaping was part of that experience. Okay, oops. Sorry. I'm having trouble with this clicker. Anyway, I'll keep going. Hopefully this clicker will work better. But again, the idea of transporting people to another place in time. Like I said, this is a city of romance. A lot of people get married here, come from China. And this is a place where a lot of people get married and a lot of pictures are taken here. There you go. Okay. So again, depending on where you are in the property, we try to create different avenues or different views of the property as you move around it. And also create places where people can go and see the vistas, take pictures. And also, not only the architecture, but the consistency in the story, the way that the staff is dressed, and the kind of hospitality that you get when you come in the door. And again, the story starts on the outside. You saw those pictures of looking up on the hill, but then as you come in, the idea is to deliver the architecture and the interiors to keep the story consistent. And also the details. Everything down to little medallions, to the stairways. Again, a consistent story. Okay, here's another example in a little different place. This is in Las Vegas. We do some projects in places like Las Vegas. And as you know, there's a lot of competition for getting people to come to your property. So what is it that you can create? What do you need to do to get people to come to your property as opposed to others? And in this case, we chose to choose a lot of iconic elements on the outside that would lure people into the property. Not only in the daytime, but at the nighttime. Lighting plays a key role in making a project look romantic and look inviting for people to come into the property. Again, a very, very important thing is how you get people to move from place to place. We created these entry foyers both on the second floor and on the first floor. And the idea is that when people come to these places, they realize that they're going somewhere outside of out of their normal existence. And again, creating surprise, the element of surprise. When you come to the second floor of the Venetian, the first thing you're faced with is a canal, a Venetian canal on the second floor above the casino. Something that people don't expect. And again, we wanted to create an environment where it was active. There were a lot of different ways to move around, things that you had to go over, much like Venice itself. You had to go over the canal, you had to go through some very narrow passageways. You had to go to places that you weren't quite sure where you were going. And again, creating different neighborhoods, creating surprises like this entertainer here on the right. And again, going through neighborhoods, different feels, trying to get a sense of a neighborhood that leads you to the next neighborhood. And again, you come up on an architectural space that is a bit of a surprise. And this is, for those of you who have been to the real Venice, this is sort of a mini version of St. Mark's Square. But there's a lot of activity here. The space opens up. There are places to eat. There's entertainment. There's a lot of places where people can gather. Again, here you can see the space and how it unfolds to people as they move forward. Okay. And again, the architectural character, the signage, the way that the food is presented, all of that has to do with the story and keeping a consistent story about the resort. Okay, here's another switching places in the world. We're going to Tokyo. This is a project we got to work with Disney on in Tokyo. Again, we've done a lot of projects with Disney before where we have done Victorian hotels, but more resort hotels. But this was in Tokyo, and the client really wanted to do something that was a little bit more urban and had a little bit more of a different story than the resort properties that we had done. And again, creating not only in the overall massing of the building, but every little detail about how the building came together had to have a bit of a fantasy about it, including our Fabergé egg there at the top of the building. And again, the backside of this actually faced out to the theme park. So we wanted to make sure that our building integrated with the existing theme park and the existing downtown, the Disney retail area. And the lower part of this building was actually a big retail area, so that on those few days where the park was very, very crowded, people could still feel like they were in the park where they were waiting to come into the park. And again, at night, the lighting had a big part to create, again, a fantasy, something that was appealing, that people that weren't staying in the hotel would see it and would want to come and visit the resort. Okay. And again, the inside had to tell the same story. So when you were on the outside and you got the sense of the theme, that when you came inside, it was consistent throughout. Okay, this is a project, again, jumping across the world here, but this is in South Africa. This is for a guy named Saul Kersner. This was our first project with Saul, and for him it was this was in South Africa, so we created this legend about this lost city in South Africa, and the story was all about the African animals and the African vegetation. Try to stay away from things that were animals that are the type that can eat you, but we try to create animals and vegetation that could tell the story. And again, from the minute you drive up to the Porte Cochere throughout, again, the thread of this story went throughout the whole property. Again, there was some fantastic artwork that was done that was in every courtyard and every place that you went, and you saw these things as you moved through the space, so it drew you to another part of the resort. Again, here, this, again, the idea of lighting these things up at night. At night, it takes on a whole different kind of feeling at night. And again, from the lobby, which is on the left, from the lobby to even going to your guest room, that whole theme resounded, and again, it made you want to go to the next step. And this is the main lobby. Again, creating different types of spaces, not just all the same. So when the lobby, when you came in from that smaller entry foyer where you checked in, you then suddenly came into a larger space. Okay, again, this project was in kind of a very dense jungle area, so we wanted to make sure that the resort felt like it was part of the jungle and it actually had grown out of the jungle. In fact, some of the legend talked about the fact that the jungle had sort of taken it over at some point, and then it was sort of discovered and brought back. But we wanted that feel of the resort really being part of the jungle. Again, there was a hotel at the top of the hill, there was a water park below, and then there was a casino also. And all of the components, even though they were separated, all had to have that same sort of idea and storyline. And of course, again, it's not just a hotel. We had rides and attractions, a very nice water park, and then again the idea that even the entry to the water park had that sense of the story. And again, the scale has a lot to do with how things are perceived by guests. So a lot of these elements were not just large; they were oversized. And again, the water park had to have a feeling of being part of that old resort. This is for the same client. Again, I thought I would show this because similar principles, but in a total different environment. This is in the Bahamas. Again, from the minute you drive in, the whole story. This one is more about sea life, and it's all about the Caribbean. Very important, again, strong storyline, but again, a whole different part of the world and a whole different kind of theme. And again, this particular slide apparently was, when people gave comments about the resort, this was one of the things that was most memorable to people, is this slide here. And again, it wasn't just a slide going into a pool. This pool just happened to have sharks in it, which again is a kind of a unique and a big surprise to people. And again, if you didn't want to go down the speed slide, you can go down a much more relaxing way, but again, still the surprise of floating through a shark tank. And again, this resort really wanted to be immersive, and that meant not just being above ground, but there's a whole sort of experience that happens below the water. In this case, there was a series of jewel tanks and a special kind of event that happened sort of below water. And again, the way you got from place to place was also an experience. And again, it was all about, remembering who our customer was and who the real people that we're designing for, but creating memorable experiences. Again, this was a resort. This was an attraction within the resort that was done by Olio, Charlie White's group, and they did a whole story about this Atlantean culture and really transporting people to a total different dimension, but very well done. And again, the sense of scale. We found over the years that if you do something that's really unexpected and something that you don't normally see, you can create some very interesting surprise and wow features. And again, even when you go to a guest room, you might be surprised that your room is actually underwater, and it's part of the underwater experience of the resort. This is another project that we were fortunate enough to work with Disney. This project is in Hawaii, and it's actually a resort that's one of the few resorts that Disney's done that's not really associated with a theme park. So it really the story had to kind of carry itself because it wasn't associated with the theme park. And we really wanted to make sure that the story was about Hawaii because the Hawaiians there are very sensitive about how you portray the Hawaiian culture. So we wanted to make sure that it was a kind of resort that felt authentic. And I know that's kind of a hard word to describe, but in this case we really want it to be somewhat authentic. And so from the minute you drive up, this is the driveway coming up to the right, and there's a whole series of terrace taro fields, which are something that in this particular area of Hawaii on the west side was something that they actually used to do back in the early days of Hawaii. And again, from the minute you come into the resort, the lobby, we wanted it to feel like it was part of Hawaiian culture and part of the Disney experience, being that everything about it told a story. The shape of this building is based on the ancient Hawaiian canoe house. Again, a little bit bigger version of that. The resort has a number of tours that happen, and so you can actually hear someone that is from Hawaii that talks about a resort and what makes it Hawaii and what makes it a unique experience. Again, these murals wrap around the whole lobby, and again, it tells a story about the Ahupuana, which is the mountains to the sea, which was a very important concept for the people of Hawaii. And again, we were trying to be authentic again to the Hawaiian arts. A lot of the artwork, a lot of the patterns are from Hawaii. A lot of the artwork that's on the building is done by local artists. And even the lighting, these lighting elements in the ceiling there are these Hawaiian gourds that have been transformed into lighting. And even with the landscape, we wanted to make sure that the landscape, these are examples on the left of the Hawaiian fish ponds that is part of the lobby. And also the landscaping. We wanted to not only introduce the idea of Hawaiian flowers, but the smell, the torch ginger and the plumeria has a very strong kind of aroma that greets you when you come in the door. And again, as you go outside, again, this whole idea that even if you're inside or outside, the story continues. The Disney Imagineers did an amazing job on the landscaping here. Again, they did a lot of research on what makes a Hawaiian environment. And they did a fantastic job. And again, it's all about not just the overall massing of the building, but it's about the detail. Disney did a great job in terms of interpreting the details and making them something that not only when you see the building from afar, but when you're up close, you get that sense of the authentic nature of the property. And again, bottom line is really want to transport people out of their daily lives and make them feel like they're somewhere that is very unique, which I hope we did. And again, the main thing is to have fun and remember who your clients are. Anyway, that's it. I can see my time's just about up, so thank you very much.